Hola, chicas. As I am basking in the south of Spain, I was thinking to myself, what makes this experience so different than being at home? Like, yes, there's the sun, yes, there's the food, yes, there's the language, there's the culture, there's the history, there's the people, there's the, oh, all the things. But if I'm talking about everyday life, because I'm living here, I'm doing my work and taking tennis, it's like I'm doing all the things that I would do at home. So I have created like a community or a life for myself here. And I was thinking, what makes this so much more exciting, besides all the things that I just listed? Like, why can't this be the same at home? And what I realized was, when I'm at home, and I've been in this house at home for the same house for 20 to 21 years, and you just are so into it. Like, it's a routine, it's just what you do. It's just kind of, you get on autopilot, I think. And when you're in it raising kids, it's like that's all you're focused on. And then as your kids get old, you progress through the stages of what you're interested in and what you're doing based on where your kids are at and what they're doing. That kind of dictates where you go and what you do. Now, I'm just speaking from personal experience, but as I say this, I'm wondering, like, does this ring a bell? Does this feel familiar as I say this? And as our kids get older, we go through those progressions with them, and our life kind of wraps around theirs. It's based on them and what they're doing and where they're at, and we progress with them. And then you hit a point where they're progressing without you. And I'm like, oh, I've talked about this 1,000 times. And I feel like I'm kind of over it, which is good news, right? Like, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And when it first happened, no bueno. It was heart wrenching. And there's still moments where it's heart wrenching because I'm still going through the process of them really leaving, moving out. But there comes the time when they do become more independent. And that's when you are left with yourself. Now, I'm a single mom, so I literally am left with myself. Most people will have a partner, but for me, it's not, oh, now let's put attention on our relationship because we've been in survival mode or kid mode for the past 20 years. But you really get down to the heart of what you've just invested in over the past 20 years, because now it looks different. I was going to say it's gone, but it's different, meaning your kids don't need you all the time. And now there's you. And even if you're in a relationship, now there's you, because this is a very personal thing to you. And what are you going to do with that? And I find that a lot of people, myself included, and maybe I should just speak for myself and you can tell me if I'm right or not, but it's so easy for me to be comfortable in my house. It's so easy for me to be comfortable just chilling out and doing the things that I like, but not really putting myself out there. Am I right? Like, does this sound familiar to you? And that's why I'm in the south of Spain, totally soaking it up. And it's a different experience because my thought is, and this isn't my house where I'm staying in, right? This is just, well, it's my house for now, but there's not that pattern, that comfort, that safety, that familiarity that just makes it easy. Because remember, our brain is like, avoid pain, seek pleasure, and conserve energy. And sameness, the brain loves that because the brain doesn't have to focus and learn anything new or try anything new. But being here, if I didn't do anything outside of myself, I would be one very, very lonely person. So I have sought out other things to do, and I will put myself out of my comfort zone. If it interests me at all, my philosophy is if it interests me at all, even a little bit, I'm going to try it at least once. Because if I don't like it, what the heck? Like, nobody here knows me. I can just bail. It's just so easy to be like one and done. But if I do it once and then it's something that I like, I have a whole new world that's open up to me for opportunity to learn something new, to meet new people, practice my Spanish, all of the things. And at home, we don't have to do that because it's just so comfortable. And it feels like to me that, my house and all that is like a comfort blanket. When you're little and you hug your favorite blanket and you suck your thumb, or you have your favorite teddy bear, that's kind of what it feels like for me. And so when I put myself out there, like, I got nothing. So I have to go out and meet new friends and try new things. And it really, really is fun until it's not. Like, I do it as often as possible, and then sometimes I just need a break because you're out there, you're talking to people, you're speaking another language. Like, it's a lot of energy, and then some days I'm just like, I just need to chill by the beach or go for a walk. But I still have that opportunity, which is all new and exciting as well. But I can do it by myself. So I'm curious if you're feeling the same way. Do you feel like once you hit midlife and the kids are gone and you've done so much, you can just be like, oh, like you can exhale, take a break, and then you get lulled into this, or seduced into this phase of just nothingness and numbness and just like sameness. Don't think, don't create, don't follow your dreams. And I was there. That's why every winter I want to go and explore and create and become someone new. When I come to a different city, I could be anybody I want, but I could do that at home too. That's what I want you to know is it's easier to do it when you're in a foreign country because literally nobody knows me. Although I've been here a while and I can walk down the street and I could see somebody that I know, which is like, hey, I got a little community going on. But it's so easy just to fade in, like be unknown and be like, who do I want to be today? And that's the magic of it, because who do I want to be? And then I experience that. I try it out, try it on for size, see if I like it. And then I can bring that back home with me, that part of me, if that's what I want. But a lot of us don't think that that's possible, only because we don't think that that's possible. So if I tell you anything is possible, you could be anybody in the snap of a finger, in the blink of an eye, that's possible for you too. So I'm just telling you this because I want to invite you to check in and be like, am I just like, sitting on the couch with my comfy blanket, with my favorite blanket, sucking my thumb? Like, is that's what's happening here in midlife? Because it's just so easy now. I don't have to care for other people, but I also don't have interests because my interests have been my kids, and now my kids have moved on. Just be curious about that. Like, just check, just sit back and be like, what does my day look like? How do I feel about me? How do I feel about my body? How do I feel about my life? How do I feel about what the next 20 years, the next whatever years? How do I feel about that? And for me, I feel like I'm just getting started, literally just getting started, because I had made the commitment as soon as I have children. That is my commitment until they don't need me 24/7 anymore. I'm dedicated to these humans that I created. Definitely my responsibility. And I always, always, always wanted to be there for them. So those were choices that I made. And it's funny because I was listening to one podcast, I can't remember who it was, and they talk about like having an anchor. What is it? Who do you want to be as a human? And I thought about it. And when I had my kids, it was like there for them 24/7, like no matter what, they always know that I'm there for them. So that was the person that I was when it was raising kid time. I have their back no matter what. They always feel safe and supported and loved and cared for, and whatever, I'm always there, always there. And that was the person that I wanted to be. So I created that version of myself. But now I get to create a new version. And I get to try it on for size. If I don't like it, no problem. I just try something else on. And that's the beauty of doing what I'm doing. And you don't have to pack a suitcase to do it. You don't have to travel to the south of Spain and totally, languish. What the heck? That word has been on my brain, and that is not the word. Luxuriate in the south of Spain. Just living life, because of the main reason is the sunshine. I went as south as possible just to be as warm as possible. But you could do it anywhere, anytime. And I really wanted to talk about this because as I put myself out there, because my mission is like, go try all the things. Go try all the things. So I go to language exchange. Okay, guys, if you ever want to meet people, go to Meetup. It's an app, Meetup, and anything you want to do, they have Meetup groups for them, and you could start your own Meetup group. And it's people who get together with other people with like-minded ideas and interests and stuff like that. And so because one of my missions here is to become fluent. Okay, that's not going to happen. But to improve my Spanish, it has to happen. It can't not happen because I'm surrounded by it all the time. I'm really putting myself out there. I took a whole month of lessons, and then here 3 times a week I go to a language exchange, and that means that you sit at a table with, it could be like 3 other people or 6 other people, and some of those are locals, so they're native Spanish speakers, and others are foreigners from all over the world. Now, I'm going to be honest, because we're in southern Spain, most of the other people are European, and I just feel so silly. That's not the word I was going to use, but okay, ignorant and stupid when I talk to these people, because anyone in Europe speaks minimum 2 languages, usually 3 or even 4. That's just how they do, because the travel is so easy to get from one country to the next, and it's almost a necessity to learn to speak more than one language. And so when I go to this language exchange, I'm usually the only one from North America, and I only speak the one language. I'm trying hard. Guys, I am really trying hard to learn Spanish, and I feel like my brain is not cooperating because my comprehension is low. It's hard for me to understand what people are saying. I got a ton of words in my head. I've been studying and practicing, but to understand what people are saying makes it difficult. But I'm committed, and I go anyway because it's a language exchange. So this experience can be different every time I go, depending on who I sit with. One time I sat at a table, and it was just so hard to understand what anybody was saying, and I felt like a failure. I felt like this is a waste of my time. And then the next time I sat at a table with just 4 people, and we had the best time ever. And I made some really, really good friends from that, and we hang out and do stuff together. And then the next time it was okay, and then the next time it was better. And what makes it better for me is when we have a native Spanish speaker that understands what it's like to learn and talks very slowly, and keeps it with simple words. But when somebody else is speaking Spanish and that's not their native language, they don't usually do that because they're just focusing on speaking too. But it's a struggle for me. But I go because I know that every time I go, I'm going to get better and make new friends. But the reason I wanted to talk about this was because last time I went, I was at a table with 4 people. And one girl was from Holland. And so she speaks English, she speaks Dutch, she's learning Spanish. But it was just her and I. And I'm like, damn, I can understand what she's saying because she was speaking very clearly, because she's speaking slowly, because it's not her first language. So that was really good. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this guy comes and sits next to us, and he starts going off in Spanish. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't even pick out any word that this guy is saying. Like, what the heck? And he had a big energy. Like, his energy is like, I don't sit down, I just go, go, go. And he spoke like that too. And then he asked me, where are you from? And I'm like, okay, I know what he's saying. Where are you from? So I said, hey, soy de Canada. And he's like, and then he was like, started going off again. I'm like, wait, what? I think he just said he was from Canada too. Which part am I from? I'm like, that can't be, because this guy is from Spain. He's got a Spanish accent. He's speaking fluent Spanish. So once we deciphered everything, because he was only speaking in Spanish, it turns out this guy is from Canada and he's actually from Saskatoon. Like, what the actual heck? But he sounded like a Spanish speaking native to me. And once we kind of hashed out the conversation, he's self-taught. He just learned by reading books and watching TV and stuff like that. But it was just the way he was talking, and I couldn't understand a word he was saying. Out of all the people at the table, even the local, eventually a local Spanish speaker came, and I understood him better because he was speaking slowly. And actually, a woman came and sat down and talked with us for a while, and I understood everything she said. It turns out she's a language coach. So she speaks all the different languages, but she speaks slowly and clearly and explains, like slangs and phrases and local phrases and stuff like that. So that was wonderful. But I couldn't understand this guy. Dude, what are you saying? You're from Canada and I can't even understand what you're saying. And then finally, and everybody was having such a good time talking in Spanish that usually we do 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes. We didn't. We just kept talking in Spanish. Well, they kept talking in Spanish and I was holding on for dear life. But eventually we switched to English. And I didn't understand what he was saying in English either. Like, it was just the strangest thing. I couldn't understand anything he was saying. And I believe that my comprehension is low because my brain has just slowed down. My brain has changed since I hit menopause. It's just changed. But I also know that I did Jim Quick's memory training. And I also know that a lot of the times I'm not remembering things because I'm not putting in the effort to remember them in the first place. It's not that I forgot them, it's that I never learned them in the first place. And that's a key because I just was always like, I've never had a good memory. I always be like, yeah, I would let myself off the hook and say, I just won't remember that. My memory isn't good. So what? But then I started consciously trying to remember things, putting the effort in, and then it helped a lot. But there's other things going on too in my brain. And I feel like this is a menopause thing. And I will do a podcast on how to clear up your brain because that's the part that frustrates me the most is comprehension. It's hard for me to understand what people are saying, even though I study all day, every day. But that part doesn't seem to be getting better. Now, I know that's not true because when I was with my son, he said, oh, you've improved a lot. I don't notice it because it's just like inch by inch, right? But it's accumulative over time. So I can't not get better. But the more I work on my brain, the easier this becomes. So we will talk about in one of my upcoming podcasts, the menopause brain and how we can fix that. And I wanted to tell this story just because I was so in shock. This guy was exhausting. I couldn't understand anything he was saying in Spanish. And if I really just stared at him and listened and didn't blink, I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of understand. But I didn't understand him in English either. I swear, he told me his name. Told me his name when he was speaking Spanish. He told me his name. And I'm like, oh, pardon? And then he said it again. I'm like, okay, I didn't hear it again, so I'll just pretend. Oh, okay, great, nice to meet you. And then he told everybody else his name, and I didn't understand it. And then when we were speaking English, he told the guy across from me his name 3 times. And I still didn't understand what he was saying. So to this day, I have no idea what this guy's name was. It's just the craziest thing. But I will leave you with this because although it was hard, I did learn something from it. And I feel like he gave me a gift. He did actually. He gave me many, many gifts. But the biggest gift was when I really thought about, damn, why does he sound like he knows what he's talking about? Like he's a Spanish speaker, a native Spanish speaker. And the more I listened, I realized it was because he was just using a ton of variation in his tone and his inflection and his excitement and energy and where he was putting the emphasis. And he just had like a kind of like an energy, a vibrance about him. And when you're sitting on the bus, that's how the locals talk. Like you are involved in their conversation. I was sitting on the bus going to play tennis, and one lady was sitting there talking, and all I could hear was chaqueta. She kept repeating that, something about a jacket, a jacket, a jacket. And then the lady across the way in front of me just started laughing, and she got in on the conversation. And I was like, I don't know exactly what they're talking about, but it seemed like she was telling someone to take a jacket and they weren't. And she just kept repeating it. And this person was laughing because they're like, and then this woman was talking to her, and just the whole bus got involved in this conversation, including me, and I don't even know what we were talking about. But that's the passion. That's how the Spanish people talk. You're on the bus and everybody's on their phone, and you're just, everybody's talking to everybody. And so that was my big takeaway from this guy who shall remain nameless, because I don't know what his name is, was that he just spoke with so much passion and energy and excitement. And I noticed the more I listened, he would repeat himself. So he's repeating himself when he's trying to find words and stuff like that. But he would just use the right, emphasis or inflection or whatever that was. And it just made it sound so much more fabulous than it was. So I did learn from the mystery Canadian. And it was just so weird too, to him sitting next to me. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm from Saskatoon. What the heck? It was so funny. Anyway, I wanted to tell you this story because even in every moment that seems really hard or arduous or painful, you can always get something from it. There's always a learning moment, and I'll always ask myself, why is this happening for me? What's the lesson? What could I take away from this? How could I, make myself better or improve my day or whatever it is by learning something from this? And that is what that crazy Saskatchewanian showed me and taught me. Anyway, thank you for listening. I hope that when you hear this, you're inspired to be like, oh God, that's me. I got to snap out of it. Or I'm in midlife already. Like, who knows how long I have left? This is a short life. Now's the time when we have all of our physical capacity and all of the energy and thoughts. And this is the time we want to go and do our stuff. I want to inspire you to greatness. I want to inspire you to live a life that you absolutely love, whatever it looks like. Whatever. And I'm just showing you my life to show you what's possible, but you don't have to travel and do all of these things. But my wish for you is that you live a big, fabulous life doing something that you absolutely love. So thank you for listening. Always, always, always love yourself first and tienes un día bueno. Adios.